Welcome to the software tester blueprint, guys. We are going to cover about the different models that we have in SDLC, right? So last time we discussed about the SDLC, which is software development lifecycle. In this software development lifecycle, we have seen there are multiple steps or phases that you need to follow, right? So what happened is this is used to develop a particular software, right? Software can be a web application, it can be a mobile application, right? It can be anything, right? Generally, what we are developing, right? Generally what we are testing are application softwares, right? Mostly we work on the application softwares, right? System softwares, which are were similar to audio drivers, operating systems, and all, right? These generally we don't test, right? There are companies who test, but generally as a normal functional tester, we don't test that. So these the application software that we are going to test, right? In this case, to develop those, right, SDLC was introduced, which is software development life cycles, right? So there are few models that we will basically go through. Why? The reason is simple. We want to make sure that this model we know, because these are very important in your interview also. Whenever someone asks you, basically you worked on it, because few of these service-based companies are working on these kind of models, right? We have waterfall model, we have V model, we have spiral model, and the latest one, which is the more, I think most of the people right now are using, which is agile, right? Which is also used for software development lifecycle, right? Agile is almost like dominating the market right now, where most of the companies, especially the product-based companies, right, they are using agile in their products, right? They are using agile terminologies. So in agile also we have multiple frameworks like Scrum, Kanban, right? So those things are getting implemented and are used widely nowadays. All right. So before we start, we have to know the code of honors and the rules. Focus on one thing. Right now, our focus is to become a software tester, right? 5% will be thinking and 95% will be planning, right? 70% is perfect. Whenever you think that you are prepared, you have like experience, you have knowledge, around 40%, start giving interviews. This is your time, right? Take new actions. Previous actions will give you the older results, right? Same actions will give you same results. Make sure you are doing the new actions, right? Awesome. Let's get started. And we are here at this level, which is right here, right? Levels of testing. Last time we have tested, right? First of all, in levels of testing that you should know, right? First of all, we have unit testing. So unit testing basically means checking smaller units, right? For example, if we want to develop a calculator, right? So if you want to develop a calculator, the smallest unit, let's assume it will be a sum program, right? Then it can be a subtraction program, right? It can be a multiplication program. All these programs that you see smaller, right? These are smaller unit that you are going to test. So that is like a first step if you think about as a levels of testing. Then you have an integration. Integration basically means now you have integrated these smaller unit. For example, now you have a calculator ready where you have sum, you have subtraction, you have division, right? And you have all the other functions available. So that now are integrated with each other, right? So you will basically test how the things are basically going. Another example of integration test can be, for example, suppose I have a login module, I have a registration module, I have an add to cart, I have a payment processing. This is my e-commerce website. E-commerce website are nothing but very similar to the Amazon.com that you use, right? Where in Amazon.com, you have a registration page first, you register, right? Then you basically log in, you basically add a product. For example, suppose I want to buy some toys, right? I will add to cart. After add to cart, I will just do payment and my order is finished. So this is, if you see all these, right? Logins, registration page, add to cart, these are smaller unit. And they are basically are clubbed together. This is called as integration testing. So integration means integrating the smaller units, right? Now you will ask me, Pramod, then what is system testing? See, in integration testing, you are only checking the functional side of it. Functional side of it means you are testing out, okay, how the data is migrated. For example, from login page to registration page to add to cart page to processing, right? Data basically migrated, right? And there is a user flow properly, which is going on, right? And what we are testing here, we are testing as a functional point of view. Functional point of view here basically means I told you, right? Testing is basically divided further into functional side and non-functional side. So non-functional side is where we are not checking the core functionality. What we are doing is we are doing non-functional things. For example, it can be performance testing, stress testing, security testing, right? Usability testing. These are non-functional side of it. So in your system testing, you will have functional testing also, as well as the normal, what you say, non-functional testing also, right? So integration testing. So now you know unit, integration, and then you have a system testing. After that, in the end, you will have acceptance testing, right? Generally, people call it UAT, which is user acceptance testing. In this case, what will happen is it has its own life cycle also, where what will happen is end users are bring together. For example, apart from QA, now after system testing, ideally QA part is done. Ideally, after system testing, QA part is done. But what happens is we have smaller companies, right? Even bigger companies like TCS or something. What they do is they will pull some of the QAs, they will pull some of the stakeholders, they will club together and they will create a smaller team, which is called as UAT team. They will act as an end user. Remember the keyword, which is end user. They will act as an end user. Now their whole task is basically to check the system that yes, whatever the QA has said, okay, the requirements are basically met and the positive and the happy test cases are working fine. And we have accepted this build. Now, since this build is accepted, it will go to the production, right? So these are the four levels of the testing that you should remember in your interview also. Make sure you are well aware of it, right? And we will see more example. Don't worry, we will see more example of this side by side, right? Amazing. So last time we discussed about the software development lifecycle, right? We have planning phase, we have defining phase, then we have designing, building, testing, and deployment, right? So defining, we discussed about that there is a in the defining phase, what will happen is ideation will happen. They will think about and they will start creating the documents. A document can be software requirement specification, which is SRS in this case, right? Then we have in the designing phase, they will design and they will create a DDS, which is called as design document specification. In this case, what will happen is they will basically try to add all the designs in a particular tools, prototypes, wireframes, right? It can be in Figma, Zeppelin, and other phases, right? After that, in the building phase is where developer basically read the FRDs, basically functional requirements, right? Which are also created during the time when the SRS was created. So they will read the FRDs, and here mostly you will see FRDs, and they will read the documents and they will they will do the coding, and they will just start creating the web application locally on their system, right? After they are done with it, they will basically there will be a proper cycle of testing, because the testing also have a full cycle where testers will come, they will have a plan, they will analyze the requirement, they will create a test cases, they will execute the test cases, they will raise a bug. If there is a bug which is resolved, they will completely run their test cases and all the bugs are done. Then they will say, let's do a deployment for this. Okay, let's do a deployment for this. And DevOps will come. DevOps is a team, small team, which contains 1 or 2 members. They will deploy your application to the production server. This is the traditional approach we have seen. We have seen the difference between the BRD. BRD is business requirement document, which is basically created. If you read the keywords, right, which is, it is created in the initial phase of a project. Just remember this. And this document basically contains high level of business requirement that could follow to the stakeholders. See, BRD is a document which is created for basically for the stakeholders. See, stakeholders will not read how your software will work, right? They will not read how your functional side will work, right? They will read a high level view. Yes or no? Okay, high level view can be bank customer will able to register themselves. That's the important thing that they want to know. Stakeholders, who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders are your product managers. Your CEO can be a stakeholder because he want to develop this application, right? That's why, right? For example, right now in the BRD, straight 1-to-1 lines are written, high level. There is no point how it is done. See, bank customer should be able to register themselves. How it is done? right? It is written in SRS or FRDs for developers, right? How it is done, there's no written. What it is, what you have to do in the BRD, it is written. So someone asks you what exactly is a BRD? It's a higher level document for stakeholders, product managers, board of directors, right? Which contains one-liners about normally a high level strings, right? What exactly this application will do in this case. For example, this example is a good one, which you can remember, right? After that, we have FRDs, which are functional requirement document. See, now the question will be, Pramod, why there are multiple documents? See, what happens is very simple. Let me give you a very simple example. The documents that you are creating, right? There will be a different document for a different role. For example, suppose I have prepared this document, which contains username should not contain a numerical, right? Is this statement is useful for my design team? Is this information is good for design team? No, right? So why would I give this FRT document to the designer? Is this information is important for business owner? Yes or no? Is this information username should not contain numerical value? Is this information is important for stakeholder? I'm your stakeholder, I'm your boss. I don't care what you have in your username, right? So that's why separate documents are always created for the separate entities. So just remember, whenever someone say business requirement document, these are top level, which means stakeholders, board managers, right? And the you can say product managers, right? And the one liner, what we are going to do. FRDs is for the development team. Development team should know what should be in the username, how the password will be done, how many transactions you can done in your ATM, another thing, right? So this is for the development team. Always remember functional specification document, which is FRD, is for the development team overall.